Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but
Agosti 6 mwaka huu, bodi ya usalama wa uchukuzi nchini Marekani NTSB iliwasilisha ushahidi na matokeo ya uchunguzi wa tukio hatari lililotokea ndani ya ndege ya Alaska Airlines safari namba 1282 katika ndege ya aina ya Boeing 737 Max 9 ambayo ilichomoka mlango wake ikiwa safarini. Uchunguzi uliofanywa na NTSB umebainisha kuwa wafanyakazi katika kiwanda cha Boeing walishindwa kuuweka kwa umakini ipasavyo mlango huo ambao hautumiki kwa matumizi ya kawaida. Tukio hilo lilitokea Januari 5 mwaka 2024 katika ndege ya Alaska iliyokuwa na abiria 171 na wafanyakazi 6. Hakukuwa na vifo vilivyoripotiwa, lakini zaidi ya abiria 8 waliripotiwa kupata majeraha madogo madogo katika tukio hilo. Kesi hiyo ilisikilizwa Agosti 6 na Agosti 7 mwaka 2024 ikijumuisha mashahidi kutoka shirika la Boeing, Spirit Aerosystem na mamlaka ya usafiri wa anga nchini Marekani FAA.
At the time of the accident, what was your average production rate for the year for a 737 fuselage?
At that time, it was 38 airplanes a month.
And currently, what is your production rate?
Production rate is 31 airplanes a month.
What goes into dictating how your production rate fluctuates?
Generally, it's Boeing controls the master schedule, if you will. They're going to determine number of deliveries, et cetera. Our rate is going to be based off of their rate. There is some buffer inventory between us, so it doesn't always have to be exact, but it's very similar.
When you change that rate, what sort of change management process does Spirit employ to ensure that you maintain the same level of conformity and safety with each change?
We go through a rate readiness process, and basically what you're doing, you're looking at all resources, so human resources, tooling, machines, space. From there, we're doing our calculations of what additions need to be made to be able to go from a lower rate to a higher rate. Obviously hiring personnel, adding the equipment, et cetera. Did that answer it?
It does, thank you. So, given the last 5 years or so, has Spirit Aerosystems ever decided against a rate change of any sort? For instance, trying to go from a lower rate to a higher rate, or conversely?
You know, that's a good question. So with COVID and the MAX grounding between ourselves and Boeing, there were times where we had some very great conversations about should we or should we not go to a particular rate increase. So they have the authority, so we are obviously going to fall in line on whatever that rate increase is. But because of the situation in the last 5 years, we have had some good conversations relative to should we or should we not.
Prior to the accident, what type of final inspection was accomplished at Spirit before the fuselage was shipped to ensure the product Spirit was producing was delivered to Boeing and it conformed to the highest standard?
So throughout the build process, Spirit performs several different kinds of inspections. So for each IP that we spoke of earlier, the build production paperwork, there's in-process inspections that occur along the way. What that means is in order to proceed through the build, certain items may need to be inspected and recorded. So for instance, hole diameters, verify the shim gaps, those types of things. Upon the completion of each one of the jobs, then there's a final inspection that's performed by a Spirit inspector, validating that the job has been completed, all the in-processes are completed as well to satisfy the engineering requirements. Upon completion of all the IPs that make up the fuselage, at the very end of the line, there is we'll do a final FOD walk. Boeing actually participates in the final FOD walk prior to our implementation of final product verification. So Boeing and Spirit, first Spirit goes onto the aircraft, validates that there's no FOD, then the Boeing team comes in after that. They do a FOD sweep as well. Once that's completed and everybody is satisfied, then the fuselage is shipped to Boeing.
And that was before September of 23?
Correct.
Has the process changed since the accident, and if so, how?
Yes, the process has changed in that now there's an additional process called final product verification. So everything I just spoke up to this point remains the same with the exception of the Boeing FOD walk at the very end of our assembly. What you saw in the video is the units go from the end of the line onto a rail car and up to Renton. Now the procedure is once Spirit finalizes the build and final inspections of the aircraft, the aircraft then goes through what we call final product verification. Final product verification, we basically take that completed fuselage. It is inspected by the Boeing team and the Spirit team. Defects, anything that was not found in the initial manufacturing and inspection, Boeing and Spirit will record. Spirit records the defect, reworks the defect. Boeing then goes and buys back, ensuring that the defects have been reworked to standard, and then the unit is shipped.
In general, what changes to the processes or policies have been implemented since the accident at Spirit?
So several things have been implemented. The final product verification is probably the biggest change. In addition, there's also in-process inspections that have been added. So for instance, currently I believe the number is 50 Boeing in-process validations. What that means is Boeing has identified 50 places throughout the build of the fuselage that they would like to perform an inspection on after Spirit inspects. So for instance, the first 5 steps of a procedure, Spirit will validate that the work is done properly. Boeing then will perform an inspection, and they will also sign off on our system, allowing it to move forward.